Comes to training, there are tons of exercise options, and there's also a lot of different tools that you could use, whether it's free weights, machines, resistance bands. So today, I want to look at specifically resistance bands and give you the top 5 exercises where I think bands work better than all of the other pieces of equipment. I like using all of the training tools, whether it's free weights, machines, or bands. I don't gravitate towards one or the other. I always pick the one that I think feels the best. And that is how I decided on these 5 resistance band exercises. So first and foremost is the strength curve, which also basically making sure that that strength curve is perfect for a given exercise. And with that comes number 2, having really good hypertrophy, really good pump, and like the feeling of that exercise when compared to the different tools is the best. And then last but not least is it easy and effective to set up? That is the criteria that I use to pick these exercises. This exercise is the X band squat. So this is a squat exercise where you basically drape 2 41-inch bands, cross them over your shoulders, and then step into them with each foot. And what do I like most about this exercise? It is like the only resistance band only squat movement that you can get into without having to be in a form compromised position, because you can step into one band at a time. And then also you can load this thing up. You're putting 2 bands on and you can go all the way up to the heaviest bands and still get into them without feeling like you're compromised while you're jumping into that exercise. And also, because the bands are right over top of your shoulders, it takes a lot of load off of your spine and it feels really comfortable. So once again, you can increase that load and really dig through these squats. Whether you're just doing a freestanding squat, or if you want to focus more on the quads, you can put a foam roller up against the wall and do a hack squat with these. Like, I use these all the time, whether I'm combining, using that in my programming with free weights or bands, or it's super easy to just do this exercise anywhere because it only takes 2 41-inch bands and you could be doing these no matter where you are. Next up, we got bicep curls. Simple and effective, and especially with bands, you can do these pretty much anywhere. You can set it up, just the band by itself, or you can use a bar like our Carbon Pro bar from Clench Fitness, or you can attach it with our Clench band handles. What's really nice about the band handles is that you can kind of wrap the bands around the handles to give you more tension at the bottom so that you can do bilateral curls, have really good tension. So obviously you have a few different ways you can do these with bands, and the strength curve is very good. As long as you get a good amount of tension with your setup, making sure that you get really good tension at the bottom of the rep, as you sweep through that range of motion, that resistance band is going to be increasing in tension all the way up to the top, which isn't true with free weights or machines. And at that peak contraction, you're getting peak tension. It's just a really, really good pump. I've had some of the best pumps using bands for bicep curls. So I like to throw them in, mix them with free weights, and just really pump those biceps up. And if you really want to go to the more advanced side of things, you can use the Nexus Pro bar from Clench so that you can combine free weights and bands to just get full control of that strength curve, so you have plenty of resistance at the bottom of the rep and still get that progressive resistance as you're going through it, so that at that peak contraction when you're just squeezing that baby, like, once again, some of the best bicep pump days I've ever had come with that set of training. Next up, we got the seated Vbar row. So this can be accomplished using a low anchor point. I mean, you could even do it sitting on the floor and you could hook the band around your feet if you wanted to, but I prefer to do these with a low anchor point sitting on a bench so that you can put your feet up against the wall and then fold a 41-inch band in half through the anchor point and pop those handles in to make like a V-bar. And what I like most about this is, one, you can really get a lot of tension at the bottom of the rep by controlling your distance from the wall and having that band folded in half. You'll get a lot of tension at the bottom of the rep, which is really good in that stretched position. And then as you're sweeping through and pulling back, that close grip allows you to really get those elbows back behind your spine and having a really good contraction at the top. Now, obviously, you're going to be strongest in that kind of like fully stressed position, and then you get a little bit weaker as you go through to that peak contraction. So the force curve doesn't quite match up perfectly, but using the bands, I feel that at that peak contraction, I can get a really, really good mind-muscle connection, and it just feels really good. And I do a lot of machine work with back stuff, so we're doing like heavy rows in different iso row machines and things like that, and obviously that's probably the preferred method, but this banded row is about as close as you can get to that feeling, and you don't have a lot of stress on your low back because the resistance band doesn't have so much mass to it, so that you can really focus on contracting those lats, squeezing those elbows behind your spine, and getting that full scapular retraction. Next, we have chest flies. Now this is another winner with resistance bands because of that force curve. So as you're going through the range of motion on a chest fly, you're gonna have the least amount of resistance in that fully extended, or like your arms wide out to your side position. So that's gonna put less stress kind of on your shoulder joint. And then as you sweep through that and squeeze at the top, that resistance is gonna be increasing all the way through. So at that peak contraction, you're gonna feel all of that resistance when you're squeezing those pecs, trying to get them really contracted and pumped up. And that feeling is unmatched by anything else. Like if I'm doing free weights or machines with chest flies, I usually feel a lot of the tension in my shoulders and I can't get as much into the pec. With bands, it's completely the opposite. There's really not a lot of impact in the shoulder, and then that progressive resistance comes on and you just get an extreme pump in the like mid chest area, which is where I want it in a chest fly. And it's hard to describe the pump because it's really intense. Like you can get to the point where you feel like you can do more reps strength wise, but the pump is just so intense that you just gotta like stop because it's that intense. So it's something that's really good, and I even find myself throwing resistance bands on the machines at the gym. Like if I'm doing chest flies on machines, I'll band up the machines just so I can get that same effect without having to put a lot of free weight on. Last exercise is one of my favorites, of course, is the lateral raise. And with bands, I feel, once again, it's that pump and that strength curve with bands. So it's easy to set up. You can stand on bands, you can hook them to the foot plate, you can hook them up to a low anchor, you can do them unilaterally, or you can do them bilaterally. Bilateral is my favorite because I feel like I have the most stability and I can really isolate those side delts as I'm going through that range of motion. The biggest key on the setup is to make sure at the bottom of the rep to make sure you have a lot of tension, and that can be a little bit tricky to do, which is why hooking up to the foot plate and using our clench band handles to kind of take up some of that slack is great for this. And then also clench band handles, you can stack multiple bands together because it's a little bit challenging to progress with this exercise using bands, because jumping from one band to the next can be a really big jump and your shoulders are a smaller muscle group. So I love progressing using, like, I'll start with like the orange band and then I'll stack a red band on, and I won't be able to make it to the black, so I'll do an orange plus a red to get somewhere in between. So it's just really good for progressing. And then the exercise itself, that strength curve, it's gonna be obviously lightest at the bottom and then heaviest at the top. But you have to make sure you get a lot of tension at the bottom when you're starting so that you have good tension all the way through. But then that pump you're gonna get, getting fully contracted at the top, is unlike anything else. It's just a grinder of an exercise, and because there's no mass, you don't feel a lot of in your joints, like in your elbows or in your shoulders, and you can really just kind of like grind through that rep and squeeze out all of the reps and just get the maximum pump with this exercise. So there you have it. There's my top 5 resistance band exercises. Now these are just my favorites because I consistently find myself going to those exercises with bands versus all the other tools I have at my disposal. I would love to hear what your favorite exercises are and why, so please drop those down in the comments below. Love to get a little bit of discussion going and maybe even some more future videos that we could put together based on what you guys like. If you liked what you saw today, be sure to smash that like button. Also, if you want to see more content like this, we have tons of resistance band training content on our channel. Check out these on-screen video links. There's a video suggested for you, and I'll even throw another playlist up there so that you can get more out of the Clench Fitness channel. And if you need any of the resistance bands or accessories shown today, head over to clenchfitness.com. We will hook you up, and thank you for watching.